The July 7th edition of SmackDown was another major week for the Bloodline and their story. A lot went down and a lot was teased for the future. So let's see everything that happened there. Heading into this edition of SmackDown, WWE was advertising the Bloodline segment as the trial of Roman Reigns. We've seen the tribal court earlier this year when the Bloodline was having the trial of Sami Zayn. That was a massive segment that saw Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman try to paint Sami Zayn as the villain with video evidence so that Roman could have Solo take Sami Zayn out. But it was Jey Uso who stepped in with his own evidence to show Sami's loyalty and saved him there. Well, now we get to this new edition of the tribal court that got off the rails pretty quickly. The Usos came out first, but they were quickly interrupted by Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. And it didn't take long for us to get another teaser for Solo's eventual future turn. Paul Heyman claims that there's only one man in WWE that has the power to ever tell him to stop talking, obviously referring to Roman Reigns. But as Paul Heyman says this line, Solo Sikoa puts his hand over Heyman's mic, grabs it, and tosses it out of the ring. So it's a very small and subtle moment, but what it's teasing and foreshadowing is obviously massive. Heyman makes the claim that only one man in the company can get him to stop talking, but Solo Sikoa comes along and debunks that claim only seconds after Heyman spoke. So Solo's true intentions with the mic grab is obviously unknown, but we can definitely assume that it was quite the statement being made by him there to flex his power and make sure that Heyman and everyone else doesn't forget that he is there as well after all. But that leads to Roman Reigns coming out and the Usos present their evidence against him. The Usos put together a nearly 2-minute long video package that highlighted and showcased all of Roman's manipulative ways and tactics from over the last 3 years. Roman's response to the Usos' evidence is that the person in that video isn't really who he is, it's just who he was forced to be. Roman claims that he didn't want to do any of that, but he did it for Jey and everyone else in the family. He says that he's got 5 children in his household and how he doesn't really need to take on any more responsibilities. Roman then fakes stepping down as the tribal chief. Roman takes off his lei and places it over Jey's head. He throws the undisputed title on the ground and drops to his knee, with tears rolling down his face to officially crown Jey as the new leader of the family. But right when it seems like Roman is serious about stepping down, he low blows Jey Uso and another brawl breaks out amongst the Bloodline. And that's when we get to see Solo Sikoa teaser number 2 for the night. The lei is down on the floor, right in the middle of the ring, with Solo Sikoa being the only one left on his feet. Solo walks right on top of the lei and picks it up while glancing at Roman and back at the lei. Solo once again didn't say a single word, but it's pretty easy to assume what the conflict was within his head there. He was contemplating about what to do with the lei and hesitating to put it back on Roman's hands. We technically didn't get to see Solo make that decision because Jey Uso would attack him and Roman before Solo can make up his mind. Roman and Solo then tangle Jey up in the ropes and force him to watch them brutally take out Jimmy Uso. Roman even tells Jey that as long as he's breathing, Jey will never lead the family. This is followed up by Roman and Solo continuing to beat down Jimmy Uso in front of Jey. We then get a quick backstage segment on Jimmy Uso getting stretchered out of Madison Square Garden and into the back of an ambulance, while Jey went with him and the entire locker room looked on. But then Paul Heyman informs Roman Reigns that Jey Uso is back in the arena and was looking for Roman. So Roman heads back out to the ring to see what Jey wants. Jey makes his entrance through the crowd and finds a way to fight off both Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns on his own. Jey also grabs the Undisputed Universal Title in his hand and challenges Roman Reigns to a one-on-one match, and that's how the show goes off the air. So, although the match wasn't literally confirmed by WWE themselves on July 7th, everything that unfolded throughout the night and the closing segment pretty much does confirm that it will be Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at SummerSlam, one-on-one for the Undisputed Universal Title. As part of the storyline and to fuel Jey Uso's character even more for this SummerSlam match with Roman, it looks like WWE has temporarily written Jimmy Uso off of WWE television as well. So Jey already had that past 3 years of frustration on his mind as motivation for this match. But now with the recent events of Jimmy being gone and taken out by Roman, it gives Jey even extra motivation and determination to get the job done even more. And we can't forget that Jey was the one who just pinned Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. So Jey does have so many driving factors and little things that do make him one of the biggest threats to Roman Reigns' title reign. So the main event for SummerSlam appears to be set. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso one-on-one for the Universal title. Roman's title reign has come full circle. Roman's historic title reign all kicked off with Jey Uso becoming the #1 contender for the title back in 2020, and that basically kicked off the entire Bloodline storyline. Jey felt like he had a chance of dethroning Roman Reigns at the time. Roman was offended that Jey would even think that, and it led to Roman forcefully putting Jey in line and mentally and physically torturing both Jimmy and Jey along the way. So the trilogy gets completed 3 years after Roman and Jey had their first 2 matches with each other. And similar to 2020, Jey is pretty much all alone and has no one in his corner. But unlike 2020, Roman isn't truly alone. He now has Solo Sikoa by his side. So it'll be intriguing to see how he comes into play in this equation. Of course, the Usos pinning Roman Reigns and now Jey versus Roman has been the biggest headline, getting the most spotlight for the Bloodline. But we can't forget about Solo's story that has quietly been developing in the background. Sure, it's a little subplot right now when compared to the bigger picture of Roman versus Jey, but Solo's story will continue to snowball until it has all of the spotlight itself. Solo hasn't been that sure of Roman Reigns as the leader for a long time now. Then you had moments like when Roman laughed at the idea of Solo Sikoa being the tribal chief, and how it looked like Solo was ready to spike Roman right there. Then you had other moments, like Money in the Bank, where it looked like Solo was calling some shots to Roman. Roman was frustrated that the Usos can't kick out of everything and seemed like he was giving up there, but it was Solo Sikoa who basically instructed Roman not to let up and keep his head in the game. And then we most recently saw Solo forcing Heyman to stop speaking at that big moment of the lay hesitation. So try not to get too lost in everything that's going on with Roman versus Jey. Stay paying very close attention to Solo Sikoa and his actions because something is boiling up there. Although Jey has always been teased many times to be next in line to become the tribal chief and dethrone Roman as champion, a lot of fans are starting to wonder if those honors could be going to Solo Sikoa with what they've been teasing lately. So Solo Sikoa and what he does next is definitely going to be very interesting. Maybe Solo can make his next big move at SummerSlam himself. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.